Inshallah, I get my screen recorder to be fixed and I can do it next time round. Okay. All right. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. نوينا تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير ونفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك كتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم وإلى أرواح معاني من مشيخنا وذوي الحقوق علينا وإلى صلى الله عليه وسلم محمد وعلى وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay. Inshallah we will start with we are at we finished this part, right? 21 pebbles, we've gone through that. Okay, ihram, we've gone through ihram. Correct? Okay, I think we're at the dam. Correct? Dam at-tartib wa taqdir, so we've gone through that as well. Right? Takhir wa taqdir. Tartib wa ta'adil. Anyone remembers where we have stopped? Which part of the we are at anyone remembers?
Ustaz, I think we stopped in page 119.
119 eh?
Yes.
119 here. Okay. Also we've finished this part.
Yes.
The 9 things that necessitate, then necessitate expiation.
We didn't really finish this, but yeah, we
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning lah, of the expiations. Right. So it's basically the dam, the expiations, the dam. Okay, the expiations of Hajj and Umrah are of 4 categories, and I'm gonna try and put it at the side for us to understand. So all these words here, right? Tartib and taqdir. Right. So tartib, right, is basically it has to be done in order. Right, which means that if you can't do one, you must do the other one. You can do that one, you must do the other one. So you have no choice. You must follow the order. Right? So that it's not like if I say, okay, you can either slaughter a sheep or fast 3 days, or you can either slaughter a sheep or fast 3 days at Hajj and 7 more at home, right? Or either or lah. Right? So I can't say either or because it's tartib. So it means that you have to slaughter a sheep. And you have no choice. You have to slaughter a sheep. Only if let's say you're so poor and you're unable to buy a sheep, then I give you the second option, which is fast 3 days at Hajj and 7 more at home. Okay? Right. So this is the meaning of tartib. Tartib meaning there is no choice. Okay, so I'm gonna write it down. Right? Tartib. Right, meaning that there is no choice. And no choice is given. Okay, no choice is given. Right? If can't do the first option, then only can move to or can take the next. Can take the next option. Okay, so some there are options. You can choose which one you want to do to expiate for what you have done. But some there is no option. You must do right it in order. It's only if you are able to, then you're allowed to take the next one. Right. So this is because like someone is too poor, right, to pay for the to buy a goat, then they have the option of not taking a goat, but fasting for 10 days. Okay, taqdir, it means, right, the amount is fixed. Okay, the amount is specified. Okay, it's fixed. So nobody can change, the sheep to a chicken, or something else. It has to be sheep. It has to be a ghanam, right? And no one can say, okay, not 3 and 7, but maybe you can do 2 at Hajj and then 9 when you go back. No, you can't do that. You can't change the amount. The amount is fixed. Okay, So for the ones to do the things below later on, right? What they must do is that they must either slaughter a sheep and distribute the meat to the poor in the haram, or if they're too poor to slaughter, then for them to fast 3 days in Hajj. 3 days in Hajj meaning any time from the days of Zulhijjah till the days of Tashriq. Right? And 7 more when they get home, there's 10 days if they fail to do so. While there is if one fails to do so while there, it's obligatory to make a fast there must be performed before the other 7 fasts at home by an equal interval to the days of one's journey home. Right. So so they do a makeup fast. Right, it has to be performed right before the other 7 fasts at home. So if someone didn't do 3 days of fasting at Hajj, they perform the 3 days of fasting at home, right, before performing the rest of the 7, and have in between the 3 and the 7 the amount of days they took them to travel back from Hajj to their home. Okay, so I hope that one is clear. Okay, there are 9 things that necessitate this first type, which is basically only 2 choices. It's not 3, it's 2 choices. This is only because if you were to miss this part, then this is what is done. Okay, there are 9 things that necessitate this type of expiation. The first thing is to perform Umrah first, which is a tamattu Hajj. You want to go for Hajj, but you did Umrah first. Then you go and break your Ihram, and then when Hajj comes in, you go and Ihram again for Hajj. Most of us Singaporeans do tamattu. And most of us tamattu because it's the easiest to do. You don't have to stay in Ihram for so long. It's the easiest to do. So most of us actually do tamattu Hajj. To do Umrah first and break the Ihram, then to do the Ihram again later on when it's close towards the Hajj day. Performing Hajj and Umrah simultaneously is called Qiran. That means your Tawaf and your Sa'i is also an Umrah, as well as the Hajj. That one is also, you must do expiation. Not sitting at Arafah, therefore you miss the entire of Hajj, right? To come out of your Ihram, you need to do an expiation. So it is not either, but slaughter a sheep. If you can't, then fast. Okay? To miss out stoning of the stone sites of Mina on 3 days of Tashriq after Eid, the time for which ends on sunset on the 3rd day if one does not leave early. Right? So that one again, you get to slaughter an animal. It can be quite expensive to stay in Ihram. It can be quite expensive if you were to go against all of the rulings. To miss out 3 nights at Mina after the Eid, although if one were to miss a single night, you can distribute 509 grams of wheat to the poor in the haram. If 2 nights and double this amount, 3 nights, then the penalty is on them, right? They have to slaughter a goat. Okay. Okay, not to miss spending the night at Muzdalifah also, must slaughter a goat. Right, to not enter Ihram at the Miqat, the proper site, slaughter a goat. Right, to break your vow, slaughter a goat. To not performing the Tawaf al-Wada', the farewell circumambulation, to slaughter a goat. Okay, right, so that is all you have to do. And if you cannot slaughter a goat, then you're allowed to fast 3 days at Hajj and 10 days when you return. Okay. Okay, dam at-takhyir wa taqdir. Dam at-takhyir wa taqdir. Taqdir means, takhyir means got choice. Okay, takhyir means choice. So then you have a choice between a few, punishments, or a few, like I say, fine. Taqdir, same meaning, the amount of it is the same. There's no difference in the amount of it. Okay, expiation in which one is free to choose one of the 3 predetermined alternatives, namely to slaughter and distribute a sheep, to fast 3 days, even if it's not consecutive, wherever one wishes. And the last one is to give 206 grams of wheat to each of the 6 of the poor. Of the haram, right? So to give 2036 grams of wheat, right, out to 6 poor people, right, to distribute out to 6 poor people, right? And you have a choice. You can choose to slaughter a goat, fast 3 days, or give out wheat, right, to the poor people. Okay, so this kind of something you have a choice. You can choose which one you want. Most people will choose number 2, right, to fast 3 days, because it's the easiest thing to do. And there's no money involved. It's the easiest thing to do, just to fast 3 days. Okay. what are the things that will necessitate this kind of expiation? All right. So here he says, right, the removal of 3 hairs. Okay, so something smaller. So you can actually choose, right? So if someone were to remove 3 hairs at one time and place, and so they're not separate different times and places, but at one time and place, you pluck out 3 hairs from your head, meaning that the interval between removing each of it is not considered long, and one has to remain at the same place, though if the removal does not occur at the same one time, the place and place one must pay 509 grams of wheat to the poor of fast one day for each hair, even if the number exceeds 3. So let me give you a scenario. The first scenario is, okay, you are in ihram, right, and you comb your hair. So when you comb your hair in one sitting, you might have removed maybe like 10 strands of hair, right, by combing your hair. And straight away, you have to pay the dam, and the dam is here. We're going to speak about in a while. Right, so let's say, for example, someone is, for example, and someone rubbed their eye, right, and one eyelash came out. Okay, at the point that one eyelash came out, after like 5 hours, the same person rubs the eye again, and another eyelash comes out. After 5 hours, right, this person rubs the eyelash again, and the same eyelash, and another eyelash came out. So now you see 3 eyelashes that has come out, right? But they are separated in separate instances. So they're all counted as 1 each. So 1 each is just pay 509 grams of wheat and no more than that. Right? Goat is always more expensive than the wheat. Wheat is a cheaper one, cheaper option. Okay, trimming 3 nails at one time and place, same thing about the hair, the nails as well. You are forbidden from trimming your nails. The same rules and restrictions also apply. Men wearing sewn garments or covering their head, or women covering their faces. So there's not it's not permissible for men to wear sewn garments. Using oil on the hair and on the beard, because this is a form of like luxury to show like someone is like well kept, right? So basically it's to beautify someone's self lah. Right? So as you go to Hajj and you go to Umrah, you have to understand that you are needy to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So look needy, right, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No use of scent and no use of attar, because this will distinguish the poor from the rich, right? So it's not permissible to use any scent. Be very careful. If your hands already have scent, right, before you come to ihram, it's okay. But if let's say if your body has already have scent before you come into ihram, then every time you take off your shirt and you put it back on, you have put on scent onto your body, and therefore you have to pay them. You have to pay the expiation. Okay, sexual foreplay other than intercourse, right, is also requires sexual expiation. Sexual foreplay is really, you said, sexual activities lah, that is before intercourse. All right, so this one will be required for an expiation, because intercourse is the major expiation that there will be something else. So having sexual intercourse a second time after having spoiled one's Hajj by an initial sexual intercourse. So if someone is really in ihram when they do Hajj and they perform sexual intercourse, then they're like, yeah, since we already booked our fast, we already booked our ihram, we already booked everything, might as well do it again. Right, so them doing it again will cause for another expiation. So as to stop people from taking the Sharia lightly, right? So to be very, very firm on them, and therefore the punishment comes. So they don't take the Sharia lightly. Right? Having sexual intercourse between partial and full release for ihram. Right? There is a type of release from ihram that's called partial release. Right? So basically, the point number 10 down there, the release from ihram in Hajj is in 2 stages: partial and full. Right? Partial release from ihram occurs when any two of the 3 rites of stoning, cutting hair, and tawaf are performed. Right? During any two of them accomplishes partial release from ihram, rendering it permissible. Right? All things that were made unlawful by ihram, except those relating to women, such as intercourse, marriage, and touching with desire. Right? But the full release of ihram occurs when all 3 rites have been performed. Automatically, and the ihram is released, it renders permissible everything made unlawful by ihram, even though one still has to stone at the 3 Jamra and say overnight and Mina during 3 days off following the Eid. Right? So basically, if someone is there are 3 actions that will release you of ihram, and you want to be released of ihram as soon as possible. It's very hard. It's very difficult it can be very difficult to be in ihram because you be very mindful about a lot of things, right? So and you end up paying a lot of money, because you have a lot of fine, right? Because you're not mindful of being in ihram. So to minimize the amount of time you're actually in ihram. So ihram is released if you do 2 out of 3 things. What are the 3 things? The first one is stoning, showing the first pillar, the biggest one, not any of the pillars, but the first one. Okay, so stoning the first one is on the day of Eid, right? So stoning the first one and cutting hair, right? And tawaf. So of course, like it is, so if you do any 2 of the 3, right, then you are released from all the laws of ihram, except the laws to do with women of marriage and sexual activities. Okay. So if someone has done the stoning of the first jamrah, the biggest jamrah, then they cut their hair, they are released. Right, so they can do that tawaf, and they can cover their face, cover their head, because they are released of the most of the laws of ihram. Or someone cut their hand tawaf and then stoning, then do that kind of thing. Any 2 of the 3. So any 2 of the 3 will release them from the ihram, and doing all 3 will make them release from the ihram altogether. And by that does not benefit Allahumma salli Muhammad, right? That does not so basically there is a full release of a person from the ihram by doing all the 3. So you do 2 out of 3, right? It's a release except for sexual things, right? But if you do all 3, then it's a full release. You're going back to normal, right? And not being in ihram. Okay, dam tartib wa ta'dil, expiation in a fixed precedence or a order of alternatives involving estimate-based substitutes. So this is not a specific amount that is given to a person, right? But there is estimate, right? So this can be due to do things, right? Basically being prevented by another from completing all the rituals of Hajj and Umrah, in which case he must release himself from ihram by one of these 2 things, right? Either you slaughter a sheep, right? That's the easiest one to do, right? Or you fast 3 days at Hajj, 7 when you return. They become a makeup fast that must be performed when you go home. Right? If you can't do it in the Hajj days, you can do it at your own home, right? And yeah, right. So it's either, so actually it's 2 lah. It's 2, but you can choose. You can choose. It's tartib. You have to follow the tartib. I said this or this or this. You show the tartib, right? So having spot one's Hajj or Umrah by sexual intercourse, in which case one must slaughter a camel. If unable to, then one must slaughter a cow. If not, then 7 sheep. If not, then you estimate the cost of the cow or the camel and give out that amount of food for the poor, right? If not, then the cow, right? If not, then you fast 1 day for every 509 grams of food that will be given them, that will be given to the poor people that haram, right? So one may fast anywhere, but it's not permissible to delay it without an excuse. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to quickly all this dam lah. So basically with regards to dam, right? As long as you don't fall into any of these things, you don't have to really worry so much, right? But so same thing also is that if you do fall into any of the laws against ihram, then you need to inform the person who brought you for Umrah, for Hajj, for them to tell you what you need to do right now at this point in time. Okay, number 4. Almost finishing the book. Now.
It's just that if like for me, like we have, like for me, right, my hair like falls very easily. So when I'm in ihram, if I were to even move the inner cap, right, there will be some hair. Then how is it? Is that count or not? I mean, it naturally.
Yeah, it falls out by itself, right? But technically, it counts. It actually counts. But you need to put on a very tight inner. You must put on a very tight inner and then try your best not to touch it at all. It means like keep your hijab on. And what you don't know is okay lah. What you don't know. But basically, I will keep my hijab on. I'll keep my inner on. I will not remove any of it at all until I'm out of ihram.
The other time, the last time, Ustazah, I was in ihram, and then after that I had to retake my wudu. So I just removed a bit of the front part. So I like pretend that I do not know if there's any loose hair lah. I just remove a bit. Boleh tak, Ustazah? And then I just did that.
You push it back.
Is that counted?
You push it back.
I push it back lah. I just push it a little bit. I didn't try to do any move too much.
Yeah, as long as you don't see the loose hair lah.
Okay. Can.
Sido
Thank you.
says okay.
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 We'll just take it as
Mm.
like that. That is okay lah.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, someone asked the question, if one does more than one of these things to go against the laws of Ihram, does it require one expiation each? Yes. Like every single violation is one expiation each. Right. So if someone does a few of it and all of them are all get to give a goat, then you might give out like 5 goats, for example. Right. So every violation is equal to one expiation. Correct. Okay. So dam takhyir wa ta'dil. So ta'dil basically means like to give an estimate. So it's not a clear amount that Allah gave, right? But Allah says estimate, right? To estimate the amount. Okay. So takhyir means your choice, and you have to just estimate also. Right. So here one is free to choose, right? And there is an estimate based to choose. So for example, killing game. Right? So if someone killed an animal, right, while they're in ihram, you may fulfill the expression by either slaughtering a domestic animal and feeding to the poor. And this animal that is slaughtered should be like the one that is killed, right? Or distribute the funds to the poor, right, to give out in charity, right, in that way. Right, so if someone doesn't want to slaughter the animal, they can actually just go and give out in charity, right, for them having violated this form of ihram. Okay. So if the animal was a pigeon, then you slaughter a sheep. Even though they're very far apart, it's the closest to the pigeon. And the sheep is the closest in size to the pigeon compared to other animals. Okay. And the last one is destroying a tree of the haram, where if if it's large in relation to other trees of its kind, one slaughters and distributes a cow. If it's small, then you slaughter a sheep. Okay. Inshallah. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, then no question. I'll just read the dua here. So it says here, Rahimahullah ta'ala wa nafa'na bihi bi'ulumi fi darin. We ask Allah Almighty through the dignity of His graceful prophet that He takes me, my parents, my beloveds, and those who were written to me from this world as Muslims, and then He forgives me and them for our recklessness and weakness. Peace be upon our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam bin Abdullah bin Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim bin Abdul Manaf, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the entire creation, the warrior prophet, the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the conqueror, the seal, the peace be upon his entire family and his companions. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Lord of the worlds. Inshallah. This ends the text of Safinah and Najah. All the zikrs and du'as are found here. You can actually go through them. Right, so if you want any of the translations, you just text me and I'll give you a translation of whatever du'as that you want to make it easier for you to memorize. Okay, you're kind of done. Any questions from any part of the book? I can answer the questions.
Saza, if we have any question, we can we just WhatsApp you lah, directly.
Yeah, it
Is
was
it?
us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think if there's nothing left to do, we just close the class, I guess. And early today. Let's just 43. Because it finished very fast. Last part is the expression part is all like it just do. And so all these things happen is do. Let's just give the expression. Most of it is about slaughtering a goat. That's all. That's about it lah. Inshallah. It's not that hard. Inshallah. Okay. We read our dua. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. الفاتحة أن الله رزقنا منافعنا وعملنا خاص مسعلين ودلالة الهدى ويسر به قبل النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإلى أرواح معالم ومشايخنا وزاوي الهدى علينا وإلى حضرة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة.